Hey, I'm Arpad Balogh, and this is SEO in 2024.
Arpad, what's your number one SEO tip for 2024?
So my number one SEO tip for 2024 is that people should start using ChatGPT or really any large language models to help them save time in SEO. And this tip really is aimed at SEO agencies, SEO freelancers, or really anyone who touches SEO overall. And one of the best things that you can use it for is, as an SEO agency, or one of the best things that you can do with it is, do forecasting for your clients. So forecasting is basically showing how much traffic, how many leads, how many rankings can they expect based on, their budget, their current website, their current traffic, market trends, how competitors are doing, and, any type of data that you have like that. It also kind of shows you data of what is actually achievable, what is actually possible to reach in that specific niche. Or do you need to go into a specific sub-niche, like, for example, if it's a real estate client, maybe real estate Massachusetts is too big and you need to go into an actual specific location, like a street, to be able to generate results. So you can do forecasting for different types of topics, different type of query clusters, a lot of keyword intents. There are a lot of ways to do, forecasting. And without going into too much detail, there's basically two ways to do forecasting. You can do it based on keyword data, or you can do it based on historical data. So if you look at forecasting based on keyword data, that means you're looking at that specific niche or cluster and use a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush to get the search volume, but you can really use any tool, any keyword research tool for getting different volumes for those keywords and forecast SEO growth, based on that. And then you use different types of formulas for calculating click-through rate for that specific keyword, and obviously rankability if it's actually rankable. And then you're using those metrics to actually calculate what is actually possible in that niche. But a better way, I would say, to do that is based on historical data. So if you do forecasting based on historical data, that means you're looking at your customers' Google Analytics, Google Search Console, or any type of analytics tool you use and forecast SEO growth based on that. So based on the query count, organic traffic, any seasonalities that you can see on those analytic tools, market trends that are visible in your, client's traffic, based on branded or non-branded traffic, and, basically on things like that. And, I would say this tip is aimed at, and, it basically helps you. If you want to do it manually, it will take you a ton of time. And believe me, I've done a lot of these for a lot of different types of clients, real estate clients, a lot of, SaaS customers, a lot of agencies as well. And it takes a ton of effort and a lot of time to make them accurate. At least I would say if it's like a small client, it at least takes you 10 to 15 hours to just go through all of the data and accurately create a kind of a prediction for them. Now, this is where ChatGPT Code Interpreter basically comes in. ChatGPT Code Interpreter is a ChatGPT model which is capable of data analyzation, and you can upload any type of data. Is it the TXT? Is it a CSV? Is it an Excel file of your customer's data? So basically, once you upload that, it uses Python to internally to do any type of data analyzation that you want. And, the key is not to only upload your client's data into ChatGPT, but use a system prompt that makes ChatGPT act as a different agent. So this system prompt, you can think of a way you tell ChatGPT even before you begin the conversation with ChatGPT, how it should think, what it should say, what type of questions should it ask. So there are a lot of these system prompts out there that you can add to ChatGPT in the, there is a button for custom instructions section that you can add it. And these specific steps that an SEO can, take to implement this tip are: you go to ChatGPT, you upload all of the data that is necessary for your forecast, you start the chat with that system prompt, of course, ask ChatGPT to create an SEO forecast. Here, you will need to give, a very detailed picture of the result that you want to achieve. And you need to give a ton of explanation to ChatGPT as to what data you uploaded, what each column contains, what is exactly said in that TXT, CSV, or Excel file. Now, then, if you use a custom prompt or custom system prompt, which I highly recommend, then ChatGPT will basically call the right agents, like a data analyzation agent, which first loads your data and tries to understand what that data is about based on your explanation, and will ask you more and more and more questions until the task is done. Now, once it is done, you can get your data in CSV, you can make a chart out of it manually or a graph out of it manually. You can also get a Python script for yourself that you can, implement on your own computer. Or the better version is also you can ask ChatGPT to run that Python script and generate a PNG image of the graph for you. So it's all of the, everything is basically done. So this tip really integrates with the bigger SEO picture in a way where it will simply help you sell more SEO retainers, and at the same time save you a ton of money by saving you time. So, if your client sees that you know your actual or, knows the actual or factual possibilities for their business or the website in the next 12 months, they will trust you more. Like, for example, if I told you, like, you can lose, X amount of weight in the next 12 months, you wouldn't really believe me. But if I asked you a lot of data about yourself and gave you a really, really good prediction, okay, here you are now, here's, your body weight, here's how much weight you can actually lose if you do these things exactly, and I give you a graph, now, you would believe me way more. And, the best measure, the best way that you can measure this tip success is really, time saved. You can just, sit down and try to go through all of those data and organize all of the data that is needed for the forecast. Then you will basically realize that you never want to do that again. So it just saves you a ton of time.
It's wonderful. I don't think you need me here to ask you any questions. You're just happy just to come up with the questions yourself and keep on answering them. Wonderful advice there. Actually, a couple of follow-up questions on the data sources. So do you so you obviously mentioned that you can use it to sell retainers to clients. That could be appealing to many agencies. So if someone wants to do that, what are the best sources of data? Are you talking about Search Console, GA4, other sources of data?
Yeah, absolutely. So it really depends in terms of like what data does the client give you. So how we usually do it, even before we sell any retainer or any client on a retainer, is we ask for all of the accesses to us. We Google Search Console, Google Analytics 4, or, even if they use like Yandex Metrica or, Microsoft Clarity, any type of data that they have, or even, goals or any maybe CRM data that we can use to actually predict like what type of results can we get from SEO. So I would say if you can get that data, that's the best, because then you're working with historical data, and then you can, way more accurately estimate like what SEO growth can you achieve. If you don't have that, what most SEOs do is create a prediction based on keyword data. So you just look at, okay, here's how they are ranking now. Here's, what type of traffic they could be getting if I increase these positions to position 1 or 2 or 3. And based on the, niche click-through rates or, or that specific keywords click-through rate, here's, what is like an estimated growth. But I would say always try to go for historical data for sure. And, once you present that to clients, usually they love it, because then SEO is really, for clients, it's really unpredictable and something that they don't really understand. So they need something to see actually, okay, here I am now, and here is where I will be in the next 12 months. So I would say, that's the core of it. Yeah.
The challenge with historical data, of course, is that the past doesn't necessarily equal the future. So can you somehow use ChatGPT to identify opportunities that haven't necessarily been there historically?
Absolutely. So that is twofold, right? Because you can ask ChatGPT to look at any type of, correlations between past events or any type of data that sticks out, or, because you could have like Google Analytics data basically corrupted by some, basically spam, traffic or anything like that. So you can ask ChatGPT, which you would normally do manually, to rule that out. But also you can ask it, okay, here's some event that's going to happen. Just predict for me based on historical data if they have already had that. Just predict for me like how that's going to affect traffic. About future events, you can also look at Google Trends. You can also look at other types of data or data sources to kind of feed that into ChatGPT. So the best thing you can do is basically you can feed not just only one document. That's the more powerful thing. You can feed as many documents, obviously if you're in the context window of ChatGPT, but you can feed as many documents as you want, and you can basically create like a mesh of all of the data, so it can then pull out the relevant ones and, create an accurate, data source for you, or just a prediction for you.
So if every SEO agency starts doing this, how are you going to differentiate yourself compared with other agencies?
I would say it's not something that you really have to differentiate yourself. So right now, I would say not even a lot of agencies don't even do this manually. So maybe what they look at is, it's like, okay, based on how much you pay us, here's what we can provide, and maybe you can get this result, right? But not a lot of agencies actually go the way of like actually looking at data, calculating, creating a cool looking graph that, shows the client that, okay, here's what you can achieve. They just kind of sell you on some guesstimate that, okay, if you pay us X amount of money, here's what you will get. So I wouldn't be worried about this, but at the same time, obviously, I don't think it's something that you have to be very, it's not something that's competitive. It kind of helps everyone. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's something you have to worry about for sure.
Okay, identifying opportunities is a great use of ChatGPT. Obviously, you can use ChatGPT to create content as well. Where do you lie on that? Is it necessary to have the human touch involved in content creation?
Definitely. And I think, basically how Kyle Roof says as well is basically ChatGPT is a glorified text spinner, basically. And it really is if you're just using the tokens that it's fed with. So it's trained up until 2021. And if you just ask something about, a certain topic, it will just spin it until it becomes something unique. But it's not really containing any unique information. So there are ways to use ChatGPT to create unique content. The best ways I like to do that is basically, again, to use custom prompts. And there's a version or model of ChatGPT where you can use web browsing. There's a lot of plugins. You can either use a web browsing plugin. There are also plugins that can pull data from, medical studies, different types of studies, where, you can ask it to, okay, give me an article about this make it NLP optimized, but pull data from medical studies, also pull data from the top 5 results. And then, it creates much better content because it will be factual, plus it will be, current. So I would say, don't just type in like, give me an article about, the best dog shoes or stuff like that. Just ask it to go on the internet, look at all of the results that it has, maybe find some, studies. I'm not sure if you can find any studies on dog shoes, but maybe there are. But, just try to use plugins. Or if you really want, you can also give it that factual data or factual, stuff that you want. And based on that, it can write content for sure.
Is it best just to use ChatGPT natively, or are there any other AI tools that you'd like to recommend that are perhaps powered by ChatGPT?
I would say the most recently Arpad AI. Basically, that's a browser plugin that connects to your ChatGPT. I mean, there's like GPT-4 API which you can use or access from the playground. There are a ton of like SEO writer softwares. Recently, I've been using ZimWriter a lot and been having great results. But just for ChatGPT, I would say Arpad AI. It's basically a Chrome plugin that can pull data from, any web page, do any stuff that you like. But honestly, I usually use it just ChatGPT by itself. And of course, I use the system prompt. And I think that's really important to point out that ChatGPT by itself is good, but not as good if you give it a system prompt where it, asks you a lot of questions, like finds that right agent where it's like, okay, I'm a data analyzation agent, or I'm like a image visualization agent or anything like that. And based on that, it gives that instruction, okay, you are this and this agent and your job is this and this. So basically it's like, pulling out some expert people from the crowd for your, the job that you want to achieve.
If an SEO is struggling for time, what should they stop doing right now so they can spend more time focusing on ChatGPT in 2024?
I would say, doing things manually, I would say just stop with that. Stop with doing things manually that can be automated or can be sped up by large language models. And most SEOs do that because they are kind of used to do it manually. And I know, like, personally, a lot of people, and non-personally as well, that just haven't even touched ChatGPT yet. I think it's insane. Like, obviously, there's like this fear of missing out now in the market where it's like a ton of like AI software that is getting released recently, and you have to pick out the best from the the crowd. But obviously, if you have something, especially these type of data analyzation techniques, that I think the most, that's where ChatGPT is the most powerful. Like, you don't have to sit in front of an Excel sheet or Google sheet and look at each type of data or keyword data and cluster them. You can ask ChatGPT to do that. So yeah, I would say, like, whatever can be automated or sped up by AI, just, do that, try that instead of doing things manually.
Arpad Balogh is an SEO consultant at Slothio. You can find him over at slothio.com. Arpad, thanks so much for being part of SEO in 2024.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I've been your host, David Bain. Get your copy of SEO in 2024, the book, over at seoin2024.com.